Okay, so I'm recording now. Hi, Rivka.
Hi.
So let me just quickly introduce myself. So I'm Nadja Taranchevsky. I'm the founder of Conscious You and the co-developer of the CU Money program that I've written together with Peter Koenig, who's actually the source of the money work. And with me is our wonderful somatic coach, Rivka, who you just heard a second ago. And Rivka is in a sort of special situation because she's actually in Brandenburg right now, outside of Berlin, and because the Wi-Fi in her Airbnb went on strike, she's now sitting in a restaurant. And so we'll be creative with this, but it's going to happen. And the people in the restaurant will get quite the show once Rivka starts with the money work. But that's okay. Right. So, in terms of the agenda for today, we have sort of two topics. The first one is, of course, that we want to give you an understanding of the basics of the money work as described by or formulated by Peter Koenig. And the shift that he's describing from what he calls the normal regime or paradigm or system that we've all been socialized into a more natural way of living life, including the way we live life with money and around money. And the second topic is around relating money and what money does in your system to your body, because all the patterns that we have around anything, of course, because we're human beings, we have this physical vessel in this lifetime. Everything comes from the body, shows up in the body, so there's this constant loop of feedback between our psyche and our body. And we want to give you a chance to become a bit more aware of what are the patterns that I have created, how do they show up in my body as extra tension, and what can I do in order to let go and release them. And that's the reason why we have Rivka with us. And that's also, so let me just quickly say a few words about Rivka. Rivka has actually been my somatic coach for, I would say, the last 12 years or so. So I've spent a lot of time with this woman, and owe her hugely in terms of my own freedom to be myself, to grow, to be more confident, to let go of packages from the past that I still carried around in terms of my family history, whether it was grief around my mom's death, all of those things. So there's, I think, literally no topic that Rivka hasn't touched in my life, quite literally. And so it's my great, great pleasure to have her to accompany us on this journey. And Rivka is also an integral part of CU Money, because what we decided to do is to take this rather cerebral subject of money and embody it from the start. So in every session, when we have a video conference, Rivka is going to be there, I'm going to be there, and the body and what happens in your physical system is going to be a huge part of our process. Rivka, do you want to say quick hello?
Hello, I'm just looking forward to start today. Very curious what we can discover today about the body also. It's different in each session and in each meeting.
Yes, it is. And maybe one quick word. So Rivka is from Israel, and sometimes we have issues with accent, and people don't fully understand. So please don't feel silly. If there's anything in terms of the instructions, you can raise your hand. And you can do so, for example, if you go with your mouse to the bottom of the screen, you see a participant button. If you click on that, you will be able to raise your electronic hand, and then I will see a little blue hand that shows up next to your name and will repeat anything for you. So, please don't ever feel embarrassed about that. We'll muddle through with all the different accents and nationalities that are on the call today. Yeah. So, in respect to money, I actually thought we start with a little experiment straight off. So, when I hold up this, and I'm gonna, if you can toggle view, so you can make the speaker view big, or you can have a gallery view where you see everybody. So, hopefully, you can see me quite clearly. So, if I wanted to give you this and wanted something in return to you, just very quickly sort of check in with yourself. How much would you give me for this sheet? You don't have to, you don't have to write an answer or anything, but just check in with yourself. How much would that be worth to you? And now I'm going to hold up a different sheet. And that's that one. Question is, does that feel different? My assumption is to most of you, it probably does. And if I gave you that as a trade, then the question is, how much would that be worth to you to get this sheet of paper? And just for a moment, notice the difference between looking at these two sheets of essentially paper, right? Because they're actually physically out of the same sheet of paper that I just ripped apart prior to our session. So technically speaking, you've just realized how money is created. Because at the end of the day, money is a construction, it's a projection, right? Money is a promise that works as long as everybody in this collective space believes in the promise, believes that this promise is going to be kept. And at this moment in our time globally, money isn't often even on a piece of paper anymore, because what we now have are zeros and ones in a computer. So that means your money is even more a projection than it ever was when we still had, all our money in coins and in banknotes, because now the zeros and ones are what you give your trust into. You trust that if you open your computer and you look at your bank account, then suddenly, there's the sum that you own. And that is, of course, true as long as you believe in it and everybody else who's part of the banking system, because we've all seen examples globally. What happens when the trust falls apart? Everybody wants their money out of that virtual bank account and wants to have something tangible, something physical, and economies collapse, right? So that is sort of the first thing that we wanted to bring into this room as an idea. And of course, that doesn't in a way make it any less real, because a collective projection that everybody believes in is a very real thing. It creates a reality that we all share. And it doesn't take away from the fact that it's still made up, right? So essentially, all of us are playing the emperor's new clothes, right? So there is the zeros and the ones, and we say the man is dressed, whereas the man is actually quite naked. So let's play a bit more with that. And in order to get you into the mood to really talk about money and find a relationship with what we're dealing with today, we decided to send you into breakout groups in just a moment. We'll have the following steps. So the first one is very simple. It basically just means you will find another person in the room who has a phone with a timer. This person with a timer has no special role other than to keep the time and put on the alarm. The first step then is to think about the questions that I posted in the chat. You have 2 minutes to do that. And then afterwards, you take 3 minutes each to together go around the room. And each of you has 3 minutes to answer these questions. While you talk, the others do nothing but listen. So you don't have to do anything in particular. You're just there to be fully present, to be witnessing the other person. And then after the time is up and you'll have about 20 minutes in the breakout room, we will bring you back into this room. So the first question is, which money-related situations in my life make me uncomfortable? Right? So that could be anything from having to ask for money if you have to write invoices, having to discuss money with your spouse, having to ask for a raise from your boss, having to negotiate with your kids about their allowance, any of these topics, or having to talk to your siblings about inheritance. So any situations in your life right now that create discomfort around money. When is the last time that money brought you joy? Right? So when was something in your life where you thought actually money enabled something that was really wonderful in my particular situation? What are examples of small situations in day-to-day life where you make money decisions? Right? So that could be when you go to the ATM to get money. It could be when you think about, maybe you transfer money to organizations where you help out other people. It might be that you give money to people in your life that it could be writing the invoices. So just look at everyday situations that are somehow infused with having to deal with money. And then bring your attention to your body and notice what happens in my body as I talk about money. Maybe also what effort do I create? And in this particular case, don't be worried if you shouldn't feel any effort, right? So sometimes that is a bit of an alien concept, and you might say, I have no idea what Nadja is talking about, which is also fine. But it could also be that you begin to feel something and you realize, oh, actually, as the more I talk, the more I pull up my shoulders. So, whatever it might be. So just pay attention to your body. So before I now throw you back into the breakout groups again, does anybody have a question? Anything that is unclear? Then either wave wildly or raise your blue hand. I don't see anyone. Okay. Well, then let me just double check. Yes, we've got you on 20 minutes. You will be gone in a moment. Enjoy your conversations with those other people. They're usually quite interesting. See you soon. Okay, so I would actually love if anyone is willing to just share a few words about what was your conversation like, any interesting observations that you made about yourself or life in general, in contrast to what other people had to report. Mina, you raised your hand.
Yeah, sure. I had a really great breakout session with my partner. Um, we got to a pretty deep place of money and how it's related to our parents, like the messages they pass through, and then money and power. And we were asking, like, what is the root of the aversion and the craving that's at money? It's like I both want it and I don't want it. And then we explored not just the fear of not having money, but what's the fear of having too much money? So if we have too much money, then what's all the bad things that will happen? And then there's also this complication between power and sex. Like as women, I feel like there's something where it's like I use sex to get money and the men use money to get sex. And then it gets even more entangled, in just all the things of humanity of like, how do I untangle and feel less fear of scarcity around money, which is ultimately reflected to love and God.
Who were you in a room with, Mina? You guys, you get the extra stars for depth, I must say. That's amazing. Yeah, so Mina, in a way, you actually, in the 20 minutes you had, you already covered the entire ground of the See Your Money program. I mean, I hear that you haven't fully resolved it yet, but those are exactly the things that we are touching upon, because I think you're very right. Money is connected to power. Money and sex are very closely related. There are money and gender roles. There is all that baggage that we have in terms of money with our family of origin, but also with the culture in which we were raised. Right. So sometimes I bring up cultural examples, like when you go out with a group of Germans to a bar, what will happen is by the end of the night, everybody will go up to the cashier and pay their own bill, right? Because it's considered to be fair. If you do that with a group of Brits, they will think you're the craziest person on the planet and very tight and and have a very unhealthy relationship to money, because in the UK you pay rounds, right? And that's normal. Whereas in Germany that would be considered to be very unfair, right? So we have all of this baggage, whether it's cultural, it's family baggage, it's being a man, being a woman. So we'll get into some of the questions that you had a little later in the call today, but I think it's amazing that you reached all of these topics in 20 minutes. So kudos to you guys. Well done. Who else? Can anybody top that? Any deeper place that you went to in the last 20 minutes? And you don't have to top it. I'm just kidding. But I'd love to hear just a few more voices from the room who would be willing to share anything about your conversation.
Hello.
Hi, Gabriel. Sorry, we just lost your sound. It was just there a minute ago. It seems like it's connecting again. Unmute yourself once more, Gabriel, somehow. Yeah,
Hello.
there we go. Now
Hello. having trouble with Zoom. One curious thing that I was conscious now is the difference between when I'm talking about money that I owe, like probably taxes that I need to pay, or yeah, I get more tension in the shoulders, in the back, in here, exactly here in my. And when I talk about receiving money or having this trust that money will come, it's more in the hard part. It's something that I just noticed when I was talking with Sylvia and Monique. So it was interesting to see those kinds of two energies inside, and it was very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Nice observation.
Uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. But the beautiful thing, Gabrielle, is that actually sort of the path to more consciousness is not always lined with comfortable things that we find out about ourselves and the world. But I think it's beautiful that you have that level of refinement of noticing it. You are essentially creating different reactions in your body depending on which direction the flow of money you're thinking of.
Exactly. It's interesting. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Consciousness is sometimes painful, but
yeah, ignorance is bliss, as they say, right? I think there is truth to that. Yeah. Rivka, are there any first thoughts that you have around what Gabrielle just shared?
Yeah, I just think it's very true, and I think it's about really learning to be comfortable with what in a way is common and what is uncommon in our life. And we have the tendency, the same as when we get a compliment, and we are not so good and so easy to get a compliment, but everything bad almost is more easy in some ways. So I find it very interesting connection.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so it's interesting to notice that we create different reactive patterns in our body around money, and even in different directions of flow of money. Who else could share something from their breakout? And did I see Stefan's hand, or were you scratching your nose? Stefan, you go.
Yeah, I shared. So, despite the fact that I'm an experienced lawyer, investor, serial entrepreneur, I am a lousy negotiator when it comes to anything concerning money for me, an excellent negotiator for third parties. But every time I have to somehow do this for my own benefit, I basically refer to others, send others in to represent me. So there's an inner blockade somewhere to be more open about it. Like my Dutch friends, who are very good at this, or my Israeli friends are always fascinated how very easy they are and comfortable they are just stating exactly what they want and asking for more. I could never do this. This is like something in me completely holds me back.
And do you have any first thoughts, Stefan, around what that is? Like, what is holding you back?
It is definitely was part of my education in my family, and so it is embedded in the culture that I grew up in.
Mm-hmm. So if you were to refine that even more, do you have any sort of first associations when you think of people who ask for money? What would be the judgment about them given your background?
Yes, very good point. I find that the emotion it evokes is that I feel this is impolite. You cannot do this. This is like ego involved. I feel not seen, and almost put into a position of almost I would say a child's position,
Like you have to
like
beg
kid's
for it.
position. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, beautiful. So thank you, Stefan, for sharing that, because what it actually already brings out is one of the core things we're looking at in CU Money is from a very personal perspective. what is it that I have dissociated from myself and projected onto money or people with money or any actions that are associated with getting money? And quite often we find, and that also goes back to what Mina was sharing earlier, that we have created a system where part of a money self, a part of me is sort of running after money and trying to get more of it, sort of being quite greedy about it, and then suddenly once we have it, another self can kick in and starts pushing it away, because that self or that personality in us has a very different projection on money. And so we end up in this washing machine motion, right, where we're constantly pulling money close and then pushing money away. Or we might have even grown up in an environment where the sort of the unconscious projections on money were so negative and so shameful also in a way, that it's safer for us from a psychological perspective to not even get money into our life in the first place. But Stefan, given your background as a businessman and as an investor, I would sort of more suspect that you have a bit of the washing machine motion going on, where a part of you is quite eager and also able to pull money into your life, and then another part has that opposite movement, right? And it creates this constant, and also quite interesting, people with that movement, especially when they
Very precise.
especially when they have the capacity to create money, you will often see very extreme fluctuations of money in their life, right? Where they had a shitload of money at some point and then they had nothing. And then they create the money again and then they have nothing.
No idea who you're talking about.
I thought so. Okay, great. Thank you, Stefan.
And just if I can add, Nadia, Stefan, when you're talking about it, you can already feel that when you talked about it, it was a bit hard to breathe and it was a bit hard to talk loud. It almost as if your voice needed to get small if you do want to talk about money. And it's interesting to see how physically it also appears in the body in this moment.
Good observation. Yes.
Well, I
Am
tell you,
I amongst professionals here?
Rivka will see a lot of things that you'd rather not want her to see. Trust me, it's there's no hiding. Okay, anybody else who would like to share something from the group, just to get another feeling? Martine, you have your hand up.
Yes. Well, it's interesting, the link with money and the body. It's the first time I hear that. I find it very interesting. And I was sharing with my colleagues that 5 years ago, I had to deal with money with my family. Um, and for 3 years, we had very hard problem with my mother's succession, because we found out that one of my oldest sister was stealing money to my mother for years, as she was responsible for her account. And we were asking the other brothers and sisters, we're not asking any question, because we felt confident, but I had a doubt. And each time I was sharing that with other brothers and sisters, they were saying, "Ah, Martin, come on. Hey, she's trustful. What are you doing? What are you saying there?" And that was intuition, and I was right to doubt about her. Anyway, my point is that I was diagnosed with 2 herniated discs. I've been very painful. The the last months, I was diagnosed on July 13, and as of July 31st, if you reverse the figures, we ended the succession. I met all my family in a restaurant, and I gave checks to all the family because we solved it. Um, but I was diagnosed 2 weeks before with the 2 herniated discs. I was so painful. And just notice, I want to end with that when I'm procrastinating to make invoices to my clients and bring money to my family, to my budget, I have back pain. And right now I'm procrastinating. I have to, today, when we leave each other, I have to make my invoices. And I have back pain for 2 weeks because I keep saying, oh, next week, next week. So this is a link that I just found out, and that's really interesting, the link with
It's
body and
very,
money.
very interesting and very true. Many times people who have either money issues or when we leave home or when we have to make a big change, there is a lot of pain in the lower back. If you think about the back, it's really the feeling of trauma, is a feeling of having a back. It's not just an expression. And whenever something in our, let's say, base is a bit shaky, which money is definitely part of our base, then as you say, many times you can, it's a serious back pain for many people. It's very, very true.
Mm.
Wow, interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Martine, for sharing that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, let me hand over to Rivka right now and Martine, because Rivka will take us through a round of physical exercises now, and maybe you'll find a little bit more relief and flow, and then after the call to actually deal with writing those invoices and getting money to your family. Okay,
Mm.
great.
Yeah. So we said first thing, I think it's actually good when the body also say, hey, something need to shift or something need to be done. Because when we have a physical pain, we truly need to change something. Okay, and sometimes it's not even bad to feel it because it forces us to change. We are going now to look for, I would like you to choose one of the situations that you took before. And we are going to go into the situation you chose when you have a bit of, let's say, struggle with money, complication with money, when you are uncomfortable with the topic of money. And just remember one of these situations for a moment. And maybe you can close your eyes. And remember one of these situations and start to notice what happens in your body in this situation. So remember the situation. It can be having to write invoices. It can be standing in front of the ATM, making a decision about what you want to buy. It's on Christmas, how much money you want to put in Christmas gifts. Okay, and for a moment, really remember the situation. Choose one that is relevant for you. Close your eyes and notice what do you feel in your body. You can feel that many of you there is a bit of tension in the shoulders and you can intensify it, make a bit more effort. You can notice if there is effort in your jaw and create a bit more of it. Notice the effort you do in your eyebrows, in your forehead. You can see that many of you are trying as if to solve a problem and notice how much energy you're investing in doing so. You can feel how much the body is part of the effort of trying to solve a problem with money and allow all the effort you do to intensify. Feel what you do with the eyebrows, what you do with the shoulders, what you do with your jaw. You can also start to notice what happens with your breathing. Maybe you're breathing a bit less free. And allow it for a moment. Don't try to change it. Allow your body to be contracted even more. Notice that the atmosphere also become very serious. Okay, and allow yourself to become serious. And continue to intensify. Feel all what you do in the body and do it a bit more, contract a bit more. Your lips, your eyebrows, your shoulders. You feel that you're a bit leaning forward, you can lean forward even more. And make it all more intense, okay? We are going to do it for 1 more minute to intensify it all. Contract your shoulders, contract your forehead, contract the chest. You can hold the breath in the way you're holding it anyway at the moment. Notice how much effort and how much investment of energy there is in all of this. How much energy you're putting into that. And keep your eyes closed and fully let go of all the effort together and start to breathe. So relax your shoulders, relax your eyebrows, Try, if you can, to breathe a bit more deep into your chest. Put your arms down and you can stand up. And continue the same. Okay, stand up and let go of all the effort in your body. Let go of the effort in the shoulders. Let go of the effort in the forehead. Start breathing a bit more into your chest. Relax your jaw, relax your lips. And start breathe more fully. Keep your eyes closed for a moment and notice if there is any more effort in the body and drop it. So if you're holding your shoulders, relax them fully. If you feel that your pelvis or your legs are frozen or a bit stiff, you can remove them a bit. You can feel that your body naturally wants to move more and allow it just to move a bit, okay? Make sure that you don't hold all the effort that before when you remember the situation connected to money. And breathe fully. You can notice now that there's a bit more freedom in the body and just continue to let go. And for a moment, just stand and feel your feet on the ground. Close your eyes. Relax your knees. Feel your legs and feel your arms. Maybe you can notice that there is naturally, many of you, there is a lot of movement in the body. Don't do anything, just allow this movement to fully happen. Keep your eyes closed and feel your feet on the floor. And just continue to breathe and to relax all your body. And if there's movement that happens naturally, just allow it. If you need to stretch, stretch. If your body just move back and forth, allow it. Don't try to fix anything in your body, but just to feel what your body wants to do and just to allow it to happen. Breathe fully to the chest. And you can sit down, please. And we are going now to do an exercise so you can open your eyes. And what I want you to do is to start to do tapping. So when you do the tapping, you're bending a bit the fingers. Okay, it's going to be quite strong. And what I would like you to do, the first tapping you're going to do on the chest. You're welcome to do it strong. I'm doing it here in a restaurant, so you're welcome to join me. I hope that nobody will throw me out for fear, okay? And you tap really full. And when you do the tapping very strong, you make sure you also do it on the side of the chest. And breathe fully when you do it. If you want, you're welcome now also to close your eyes. And continue. When you tap, you also make sure to tap on the sternum, on the middle of the chest. Very strong, very fast movement. Breathe fully. And now I would like you to start to tap from the shoulder all the way down to the arm. Okay, you choose one side. You make sure to fully cover all sides of the arm, also below. Okay, and really strong. Okay, don't be shy to feel it. Breathe fully. Don't forget to breathe to the chest, and you really cover all the side, and then you go all the way back to the shoulder, and you can move to the other side. With your other arm, and you tap all the way down. Excellent. When you tap, you make sure to cover everything, all the side of the arm, including the hand. Excellent. And you come back, and you come back to the chest. You tap again on the chest, in the middle, very strong. You really want to feel it fully. And it's enough. Put your arms down, close your eyes, and lean back for a moment. Close your eyes and just breathe. And you can notice a flow to your arms. Notice if there's a bit of energy flow to your hands. Maybe you can feel that your chest is a bit more moving or a bit more alive, and allow it. And breathe fully. And notice all of this flow down to your arms, to your hands. Let your face to relax fully, relax your jaw. And now we are doing the same. You can again tap in, a bit more gentle please this time. I want you to tap on the head. Okay, and when you do it, please do it a bit softer. It's the only head you have. And you make sure to go to the sides to really cover. You go to the back of the head. Much more gentle than before. You continue to breathe. You can close your eyes when you do it. You're welcome to go also a bit to the forehead, which is part of your head. And just tap a bit on the side of the head, of the back of the head, all the way down. And it's enough. Put your arms down and again close your eyes, please. Notice a bit the movement of the head. And allow your head to become a bit quieter. Allow your head to become in a way more part of your body. Feel your head as part of the body and not just an idea of something. And maybe you can now open your eyes and for a moment just look at the room around you. And I want you in a way to really see the room, look up, look at the spider webs on the ceiling. Okay, try to fully see the room. And that the room and what is around you become almost more real than the screen that you're looking at the moment. Okay, and now feel all your body together. Feel your head, feel your chest, feel your arms. In a way, feel how present you are. And we will say that in the first step, in order to really deal with money, it means that we are 100% present in our body, in our reality, and in how we perceive money, and not out of any story or out of any old learning or belief, but out of what our body wants and what our body perceives from today. Nadja.
Thank you so much, Rivka. I've been doing this for so many years, and I continue to be amazed what sort of 15 minutes of exercises like this and bringing attention to my system changes for me. And on that note, I would actually love to know what changed for you. So if you just typed into the chat very briefly, what is the shift that you noticed? Where was the from when we started, and what is the to where you feel you are now? Just to give us a few key words. And what I think is essential about this connection to the body is to fully realize that our body is beautiful in a way because it's always in the now, right? It can't be anywhere else but in this present moment. And when we want to deal with money in a way that is healthy, that is joyful, that creates opportunities for us, that makes us be playful with money in the system that we're part of, with the people that we're doing business with our family, we need to be fully grounded in our body. And the more freedom we have to move here, the more freedom we will actually have to or creating in the sort of metaphysical world of money, right? In this world of ideas and projections. Mina was asking, what do we do now from this place of presence as it relates to money? Mina, do you want to unmute yourself for a moment?
Sure.
Mina, what does this question relate to? Like what is an impulse in you now?
So from this place of presence, there's almost like a nothingness. So I'm trying to come back to money and how to see the abundance of it rather than the scarcity of it. But in a sense, the question doesn't even make sense from this place. So there's also like, how do I retie it back to where the trauma is linked from this place of presence to actually let it go the next time it gets triggered?
Rivka?
Yeah, I will say much more than it's about not knowing. You can feel that from the place you are now, you don't know. And actually not knowing give us a lot of freedom because we can, if we know our past, we also know our future. And if it's okay not to know, then everything is possible again.
So in a way, from this place that you now embody, one of the things is to go back to the situation that you previously named as one of the challenging situations that you create around money, and to see what becomes possible when you think about it from that place. If you were to act from this level of presence, from this level of embodiment, and it might be a very different situation, or at the very least a different feeling that you have in the same situation. I'm just looking at the chat again. Gabrielle wrote, feeling of potential, solution not using only the brain, using my wisdom. Yeah, then Ernst is writing, a strong effect in the face, around the eyes, and releasing pressure in my stomach. Mm-hmm. And Monica, you wrote something beautiful that you just sent to me, but I think it's a public comment. Stop me if I got this wrong, because somehow there's a growth from feeling dumb and little to feeling big and present and courageous to look again at the uncomfortable situation of asking for money. Yeah. And Jenny is writing, I'm breathing deeper. Hadn't realized I was breathing so lightly. Yeah. So, so that is essentially one of the things we will also be doing in CU Money, is to bring you back to a place where using your body in everyday situations, and you will, quickly notice that when we deal with money, money is only the tip of the iceberg, right? We're moving into so many different themes, and most of them are relationship themes, and how much constriction there is that we create in our system, and how much movement is possible when we come from this place. So what I decided to do with Rivka now is actually for Rivka to just ask me a few questions that are sort of specifically related to what we teach at CU Money, sort of Peter's money work, so that you have a little bit more of an intellectual understanding also of where do we want to get to.
So the first question I was wondering is actually, what is money work for you?
In a nutshell, I would say that money work, even though few people would initially connect it with that, for me, it is actually the deepest consciousness work and identity work that we can do. Because very much to the first comments that Mina had after her breakout session, it is essentially linked to everything, right? So when we really look at our relationship with money, we will always end up at the relationships we had with our core caretakers, whether they were parents or grandparents or adopted parents. We will always come back to the question of culture. We will always come back to the question of gender. We will come back to sexuality. So there is something so deep that money links us to, and that is, I think, the gift that Peter Koenig has actually brought into the world, because he has seen that connection and a clarity that I have very rarely seen in any other work around money. So for me, it's a consciousness work.
When you talk about this work, you describe something that you call the normal system and the natural system. What are these? What is your meaning when you talk about it?
So the way Peter envisioned the system is to look at what have we all been socialized into, and that is essentially the normal system, or he sometimes calls it the normal regime. So it's something that we all assume is so because it's always been so. And the cycle is, I work to get money with the intention or the dream that one day I will have enough money to then finally do what I always wanted to do. Right. So in a way, the illusion that we've been buying into for generations is if I have enough money, I will be free. And what Peter is proposing is, actually the observation that very few people ever fully manage that jump, because either they are amongst the 99% of the world who have to continue working constantly in order to just barely survive. So for them, doing what I want because I have enough money never really presents itself anyway. But then even people who have money, often find themselves in a situation where they're still trapped in the old cycle, because suddenly now they have to secure the assets they have created for themselves. Suddenly now their idea of what a good life is has expanded so much that they have to generate more money. So in a sense, they too are caught in this hamster wheel. And that is the normal cycle. Everybody does it. And what Peter proposes is, what if there is actually a more natural way to be in the world? What if there is a natural regime, a natural cycle that basically means I use a different starting point? The starting point is I start doing what I want. So I follow my passion. I follow my deepest intention. I follow, in a way you could say, I follow my purpose. I do that and then have the experience that life supports me in this endeavor. And that includes, but also transcends my monetary needs. Now, of course, the interesting thing is, I need to at some point jump and sort of actually just do it, right? Because what we want to do coming out of the old system is we want proof that this is going to work. And sadly, that doesn't really work that way. So we have to jump. And then it may also mean that we actually realize that there is a lot less that we want in our life, including piles of money, because suddenly having 3 houses on Mallorca is not even that attractive anymore. It's not what I want anymore, because I realize if I truly do what I want, what makes me feel alive, my life is much simpler on many different levels. And my path, by the way, can include, and that's something that I find also quite interesting in Peter's work, is because he says, there's no, there is no guarantee that you will get rich when you do money work. The guarantee is that your life will unfold in the way it has to, which means maybe you end up being very happy with a lot of debt. Maybe it means you'll be very happy with a lot of money. And maybe it will mean that you always sort of have enough, but it's never an outstanding amount of money. But whatever the amount is, it will be the right amount for you because you do what you want.
It's interesting, huh? Because in some ways we are all, in a way, we are aware of this, that it's actually endless cycle that we are working and then we're working in order to spend more. And what actually makes us stuck in this normal regime or normal system that we talked about?
That brings us back to what we already had in the room here today, which is projections, right? Because again, money is essentially this, right? So somebody put something on anything on an empty projection screen and said, this is worth something. So what we project onto money has a lot to do with our identity. So in essence, actually, there's sort of 3 types of different projections. So you have people who have unconscious negative projections on money, which means if they really dig deep and you would ask them, people with money are, money is, people who want money are, and you let them complete these sentences, they often end up with words like, dirty, corrupt, it's a lot of responsibility. It's bad. Like it creates just evil in the world. So if you belong to the people who have unconscious negative projections, what happens is psychologically, your identity tries to split off the thing that you don't want to be, because I don't want to be dirty, I don't want to be corrupt, I don't want to be manipulative and bad. So therefore I projected outward of myself, I projected on money. But the moment I do that, I have this constant experience that I can never actually create money in my life, because my subconscious always pushes it away. So people with those negative projections usually have an incredibly hard time even making money in the first place. Right? Then we have people who have the opposite pattern of projection. They have positive unconscious projections on money. So if you ask them about money and people with money, they would say things like, money is luxury, money is freedom, money is possibility, maybe even money is love. As long as those projections are unconscious, what happens is I become greedy, because suddenly the only way for me to have all of these beautiful things in my life is if I create more and more of this magical substance. But of course, that ends up being a black hole, because the more, I can't ever throw enough money in there in order to feel secure, in order to feel truly loved, in order to feel accomplished, because it just sucks it all in. It's gone. Right? So in that cycle, what I'm doing is I'm running after money, and I'm grabbing more and more and more of this magical substance, because I think that is going to fix it. So in a sense, that is also, I find a very interesting observation, because it means that people who have money usually have not fewer money problems than people who have no money. And that's quite often something that I see when we talk to people around money. Is, for example, the money course now, the money work, is something where people who struggle with money always feel much more, to them it makes sense why they would want to participate in CU Money, for example, because they have money issues. It's very clear. People who have a lot of money, their issues often show up in a different way. They're very often very relationship based, right? So money shows up in inheritance, it shows up with their siblings, it shows up in their relationship with, spouses that separated, but it's still an issue. And then we have people, and that's what I related to earlier with Stefan, who have mixed projections. So they have unconscious positive and negative projections, and they become this washing machine of, right? They pull money close to them, quite good at generating it, but the moment it's there, they somehow find a way to let go of it again. And that can be a joyful process if it's done consciously, but if it's done unconsciously, it's actually quite exhausting. So that's the secret behind what we do with money.
So basically, we were saying that we are in a way the victim of our projections. And so what is the solution then?
So the process that Peter devised, which is, in a way, it's really not rocket science, but it's still incredibly impactful when you do it for yourself, is to find out what is the core projection. So what is the thing that I have dissociated myself from, to reclaim that and integrate it into my sense of self, into my identity. So, just as a very quick example, let's say one of the sentences that I realized, or one of the beliefs that I realized I have around people with money, is that people with money are manipulative. Now, I don't want to be manipulative, right? So I push it away, and I see manipulation only ever in other people. The task for me, in order to become more whole, is to pull manipulation back into my sense of self and begin saying, I am manipulative. In the beginning, that might feel incredibly uncomfortable. So then the next step is to say, I'm manipulative. I allow myself to be manipulative. The next iteration might be, I'm manipulative, and that's okay. The next iteration might be, I'm manipulative, and that's good. And the final one could be, I'm manipulative, and that's fantastic, or that's great, right? So to own it with joy, and to actually see that whatever we've dissociated ourselves from is weakening our system. And the moment we can reclaim it, it actually means that we become more whole, we have more options in life, and that also shows up as a physical process. So the moment you've reclaimed a core projection for you, something happens in your body.
Thank you, Nadja.
Yeah, and so maybe I just want to add one more thing, because we've had that in a previous call, and I think it's a valid question. So one of the questions that came up was from a participant who said, well, Okay, but does that mean we're all just a victim of our projections? And if you have, let's say, a single mom of three living in the suburbs in Chicago, and she is, to boot, she's a woman of color. Like the reason why she has money issues, is that just because she has projections, and when she reclaims her projections, is everything going to be okay? And to be honest, I don't know. Right. I really don't. I mean, we haven't had the single mom, the black single mom of three in our program yet. So I don't know what would happen to her. But my sense is, from everything that I've seen so far, the sense of ownership and the sense of ability to move freely in the world will increase. So my notion is that for her as well, it would create a new set of possibilities in which she can move freely. But also, CU Money is not designed to solve structural problems, at least not yet, right? Because I argue that the structures and the systems that we experience today, including all of those that create great structural inequality in the world, they have been designed by people. They were not made by God. So therefore, if the people who design these structures and systems become more conscious around money and become more aware of what they're creating in the world, that will create more possibilities for more people, including the people that are really disenfranchised on this planet right now. So it doesn't solve all the problems in the world, but it's a path into something new.
And maybe I can add a bit to it, Nadia, to say that in a way, we all pay a very high price in our health, in our body, in our life because of money. And definitely part of what you would like to do in this course is to make sure that you become more well in it in all levels of your life. So it doesn't take a part of the joy and the health out of it just because of money.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, I got a really lovely message from somebody on LinkedIn the other day, and he, wanted to know a bit more about CU Money. And then he wrote me this message, and I will put it into the chat. He said, "Oh, so actually, what you want people is to be more wealthy, right? But written as WELL and then THY. So yes, we want people to be more well." Yeah, so to be more wealthy, and that may sometimes be connected to money, and sometimes or creating more money in your life, and sometimes it isn't. But you will be more well. So I would like to just take a few minutes to talk a little bit about the program for those of you who might be interested. And of course, you can read, more details on the website. By now, we actually have a lot of information from people who've been through the course on the website as well. And I just want to see for a moment, Ernst, are you still here? Yes. Ernst is one of our participants from the last cohort. And Ernst, if you would be willing to just for a minute or so say something about your experience in the program, that would be fantastic.
Yes. Well, thank you. I feel honored to say something, and using me as a propaganda person. Well, it has had tremendous change, and well, I like the word wealthiness. The concept of wealthiness, money has, or wealthiness has different ways, different dimensions. It's not only money, it's getting attention of other people, having connection with other people, being esteemed as a wise or pleasant person. These are currencies that are, for me, very much behind when I use the word money. And to say something very personal, the main thing that was occupying me in the last year when I looked at my reserves, being a pension person and having not so much money as a pension, how long can I live with that? When do I have take poison or whatever, or disappear from this world because there's nothing left in terms of monetary reserves? And this has disappeared. I know there will be other kind of compensations, and if there's nothing, then there will be some way where I can live happily. because I'm not fixed. My fixation on just one thing, which is called money in whatever currency we are talking, is just a creation. It's nothing. And this is one of my very personal gains. And then, and that's the reason why I'm here, I have also found an access to body work. I know what that means. For instance, this exercise we did today, I did it in the head, but suddenly all my tension in the stomach was gone, because this is my noticing point. And so whenever there are situations where I get tense, I am very much aware of what is happening with me. So the connection of situations with money or with other issues, you have mentioned that we are not talking only about money, but here in this course we are talking money because it's one of our deepest issues we have. So yeah, now I'm having been talking maybe longer than a minute. It has been for me, and I've done a lot of work, and I'm working as a coach with other people. So I'm very much concerned with what we are doing with inner work. That's my life. It has been a great revelation for me.
Thank you so much, Ernst. And it's wonderful to see you. Thank you for showing up today and continuing the body work and the exploration, because in many ways it's going to be a constant companion, and it is for all of us. So yeah, so in essence, just to say a couple of words, what we're doing in CU Money is to I always call it peeling the onion, right? So we're starting in module 1 with just more information about the money system, how money is created, and just shifting our intellectual understanding of money, of what money actually is, and how money comes into this world. In the second module, we really dive very deep into our family history, and we will look at what are the lessons that you learned at home around money? What are the lessons that you learned around being a woman and money, about being a man and money, all of those topics, right? And what is the taboo that your family gave you as an unconscious message you shall not break? In the third module, then we really take all of that information and dig very deep into your personal projections. And we've devised a process that helps you to flush out a lot of these sentences, like the one that I gave as an example before, people with money are manipulative, then to go, I am manipulative, and then to notice what happens in terms of my degrees of freedom when that which used to be a taboo, which used to be not possible for me, becomes an option in my life. So that's the reclaiming projections module. Then in module 4, we're moving into, it's a little bit like a U-curve, right? Then we're diving back out. We're going back into the actual reality of what you're dealing with today. We're looking at your financial situation, the flow of money in your life, but also at the entirety of your life right now and how well you actually are in different segments of your life. And then in module 5, we're diving into what is your future, right? What is that thing that you have been shying away from truly doing that is yours, that needs to be done by nobody but you? And then to create the pathway for you to start doing that, or if you're already on that pathway, which is luckily also the case for a lot of participants, to do it more freely, to do it with less fear, to do it with more joy and abundance. So all of that is 5 modules, takes place of approximately 11 weeks. If we do the English cohort now, as we had planned at the end of the month, it will probably take a little bit of longer because we have Christmas in between, so there's more space there. And at this moment in time, we're also still deciding if we will start in October, at the end of October, or if we will postpone it until the end of January, because one thing we realized, this is very much a collective journey. So when you go through this, you will, for one, be part of a triad. So you will be partnered up with 2 other participants from the program, and in every module, you'll have an hour conversation. But also the other participants on the platform are important because you will be able to type into the chat. You will see people's reflections on certain exercises that we ask them to reflect on publicly. And that creates new awareness in you. And therefore, we want to have a minimum of people in the program. Otherwise, it feels somehow too empty, not juicy enough. So that's a message to you in case you're toying with the idea. We would be very, very grateful if you could make up your mind until tomorrow, because by tomorrow night, we will make that call, whether we move forward now or do it at the end of January. And you can pre-register on our website. And if you would rather have it in January, you can also put that in a little info box that we have there. So we can, this is a co-creative process, including how much it costs to actually participate. Because one of the visions that we have is that we can co-create a world where more access is not always connected to having more money. So that means we want to have this program possible for anybody who feels called and inspired to do so. Because in a way, what I would actually love to live in a world where those people who are most inspired and most motivated get most access, not people who have the most money. So that means we came up with a number that we looked at in order to fully support all of the people behind the scenes in our system. The fee for the course is 850 euros. But if you want to pay more, because it's possible for you, you therefore become a sponsor for people who pay less. And if you want to pay or need to pay less, you can pick your own fee between 300 and 850 euros and no questions asked. You shall be the judge of what's possible in your system. And to also put that into the space, we've also had a few participants that said, I am so motivated to do this. And right now, I don't even have the 350. If that feels familiar in your life and that can happen, send us an email, make us an offer, and we'll make sure that you will be able to participate, because we love to work with people who have passion for this, right? Right, so that's all I will say now, because I also want to honor our time promise. The German group will go ahead, because we've already have enough people who pre-registered. So in case you are a native German speaker, then you can also join us there. I will put both links into the chat. And before we leave, I would actually just love to just quickly pick on a few people here in the room and just ask you, what are you walking away with now? And you don't have to say anything. You can also say, oh, I'm busy with other things right now. Please pick somebody else. But if you feel you can, I would love to hear where you are, what you take away. Judith, can I ask you to share? Judith, you just muted yourself again.
That's the problem if you do the same. Yeah. I got a lot of new thoughts and perspectives, and also a great experience that is connected with the thought with all my body. This was a new experience and a new way out to register this connection, and to see that it's not two things, that I can match them. Yeah. And this is a worse experience for me.
Lovely. Thank you, Judith. Martine, where are you at in terms of body, by the way?
Sorry. Yes, well, no back pain right now. Yes, I find the program very interesting, and I breathe more deeply since we made a little practice. And this discussion about the old regime and the new regime, so it makes links everywhere. So feeling very comfortable with all of what I heard. And I want to thank you both, Rivka and yourself, for this, putting this all together.
Thank you, Martine. Are you ready now to write your invoices?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Martine. Sophie, what about you? Oh, sorry, you were just going to leave. Sorry. Oh, okay. Sophie has a small baby. I happen to know that, so I think it is probably something with Carl right now. So maybe just one more. Natalie, would you? Or Nathalie? I'm not quite sure if you're English or French or German, Natalie.
I'm actually a Belgian Berliner. But my internet connection is really bad, so sometimes I go away, so I'd rather pass.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Thank
Maybe
you.
just one more. Hermine.
Yeah, for me it was very interesting. I did a lot of body work formerly, but I never realized that also money has such an impact on my body reactions. And this is really, I'm still quite surprised. And also the different dimensions of money, where is the impact? This is really a good takeaway lesson. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hermine. Okay, so unless you want to put something in the space, then make weird movements so that I can see you. Christina?
Yes, Nadia, I was asking in the chat, how many people do you want in, or would you like to have on the English?
We would like to have at least 20, and right now we had 15 people who pre-registered. So, but you know, also with pre-registration, and not everybody who pre-registers then actually shows up. So therefore, you know, we're feeling it. If we feel it, we'll open the gates officially, and that will happen. Otherwise, it will happen next year, and that would be great too. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So everybody, thank you so much for taking the time and on this Sunday afternoon. And if you want to, you can unmute yourself just to say bye into the group and wave some hands. And then we'll see you soon, I hope. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Take
Thank
care.
you.
Bye, Christina. Bye.
Bye, everyone.